The following presentation is brought to you by the Realm Network.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. Add another swerve and then...
Oh shit! It's Vince Russo!
Vince McMahon's best kept secret.
I am the anti-Christ of professional wrestling!
David Arquette won the world title!
I've got a wife, 3 kids at home, and I really don't need this shit.
How can this show be so awful, Mr. McMahon? I didn't think it was.
Viagra on a pole match.
And Hogan, you big bald son of a bitch, kiss my ass!
Judy Bagwell on a forklift match. McMahon, the family, The Rock, they screwed us all.
Now you're the editor, right?
Mankind did it! Beat me! Goldberg steered Russo on the table.
I'm from New York.
I'll get downright nasty.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
I'm a little disappointed, and I'm going to explain why in a second, and I'm gonna explain it to my new friend also why in a second. But you're going to know this guy. There's no question about it. This is the former WWE superstar, Adam Rose. And I say former because of legalities of the name and everything like that. But basically, you'll know him as Adam Rose. But I'm talking about Ray LaPon. Ray, how are you doing today, my friend?
Today, I'm doing great. Had a fantastic morning. Woke up to my kids. Don't normally get to do that. So that's always great. Get woken up by my kids in the morning. So... But I'm sitting in the car right now because both of them are little nightmares, little terrors, and they're tearing the house apart. So this was the quietest spot I could find to do this.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I mean, I have 3 kids, grown and out of the house, but I know you have 2 small boys. We're gonna talk about them. Maverick is 6 years old now, I believe.
Maverick's 4.
Maverick's 4.
And Levi's 2. So they're 2 years apart.
So you have your hands full, especially the terrible 2s.
Oh, yes. And right now, they're both learning to express their own little personalities. So it's an explosion of expression going on with them. So it's great. It's fantastic, though.
Bro, that's tremendous, Ray, and I'll tell you why. You've obviously taken an opportune time to take a little break from wrestling, even though I know you're going to start hitting the independents. Because, Ray, I got to be honest with you. I have 3 kids. My kids now are 29, 26. My daughter's about to be 21. And, Ray, I've got to tell you something. While they were growing up, the same age as your 2 little boys, I was in that WWE grind every week. Ray, I miss so much of their growing up. It haunts me to this day. Ray, I missed my son's very first home run. And it has haunted me, and I've never forgiven myself for it. So the fact that you're home now with your 2 boys at their age, I think it's a great thing.
Oh, most definitely. I think Ricky Steamboat was the person who warned me about the sacrifices you have to make with your children. And Steve Kern was another one who warned me about the sacrifices you have to make with your children. And I think I realized I'm not willing to make that sacrifice with my children. I want to see my kids grow up, I want to watch them. I want to be a part of their lives. I want to watch them develop, and I want to be a part of all their different experiences of life. And it's like they don't know what to do because I've never seen Daddy this much. So it's weird. They keep on saying, "Daddy, go airport. Daddy, go airport." Oh, Daddy's not going to the airport. And Maverick keeps telling me to go to work. So I'm like, no, I'm not. So,
yeah. Man, I'm going to tell you, Ray, you will realize how rewarding that is years from now. Because like I said, my oldest son now is 29. He's going to be getting married soon. And I sit here and every day I say to myself, what the hell happened? Where did the time go?
That's the thing.
Now, Ray, let me tell you why I'm a little disappointed. I'm going to be honest with you. Okay.
Go for it.
Now, Ray, I've done research, in you. I watched obviously the ESPN piece, watched your work, and I was always drawn to you for some reason. And Ray, I'm going to be honest with you. I knew I was drawn to you, but I knew it was 1 or 2 reasons. Number one, was I drawn to your heart? because seeing your heart, seeing you around Maverick, around your wife, man, it really, really, really spoke to me. And Ray, listen, I was in the wrestling business for 25 years. I dealt with a lot of guys that had black hearts. So when I see somebody like you come along, it really touches me. But Ray, I got to tell you, on the other side, you had these Fabio looks, bro, with the long flowing hair and the mesmerizing eyes. And I'm like, do I love this guy's heart, or am I falling in love with this guy? Now, Ray, I'm seeing the hair gone, bro.
Gone. All gone. Cut it off. I wanted to cut it off for a long time. So, and to me, it represented something of a time I wanted to free myself of it. So I'm happy it's gone. I mean, I think it was one of the first things I did was cut my hair. So I mean, I was ready to do it, and I wanted to do it. And I'm a low maintenance type of guy. The last thing I want to be doing is getting hair products and all sorts of garbage. So I was really happy to wake up like this.
Ray, did you feel any, because it was really a part of who you were? I mean, bro, listen, when I say rock star looks, you had rock star looks. When you did that, did you feel like any loss of identity whatsoever? Because I would assume you had it for a long time.
Yeah, I think I grew it. Well, I grew it, then I cut it, and then I grew it when I first got to the States, and I never cut it again. But it's like, it defines me as a person, and I think it represented a part of even the character, or a time of even the character I played that I didn't like. So shedding myself of all that. It's like I was shedding old skin.
Yeah, bro, trust me, I understand that completely. I got you. Now, Ray, man, I got to tell you, man, and I'm going to ask you some questions, because you got to understand something. I'm a big wuss, Ray. I have no problem admitting that. That's why I wasn't a wrestler, bro. That's why I was a writer. I'm not a manly man. I cry at movies. Sometimes even cartoons make me cry. So, Ray, I got to tell you, here's what I've got to dive into this. I know you grew up in South Africa. I know you dropped out of school at a very early age, and I know you've told this story, but basically very young, you lived 2 years on your own, basically as a teenager, correct?
All right, well, I was a troubled youth and a difficult teenager, to say the least. And then my family hit hard times, and some moves were made, and I ended up choosing not to move with my family, and ended up staying with a friend for a bit, and then ended up actually staying on the street for about 2 years. I was just short of 2 years. I was living in public toilets, and I found like houses that were being constructed and stuff like that, and I was living there, and just kept on moving. That was the theory: just keep on moving, and sleep in the day and be awake all night.
How old were you at that point, Ray?
I was probably 14, 15, and then I think just before I turned 16, I went back home.
See, Ray, here's the thing that like freaks me out. As a regular guy, here's the first thing that I think about when you tell me this story. If it were me, bro, I would be scared out of my freaking mind. I mean, isn't there terror or fear?
Oh, I think there most definitely is. I mean, I think luckily for me, I think I was term for it when you're young and you think you're bulletproof, and I think that was the problem.
Yeah, you think you're immortal.
Yes, I thought I was immortal, and I thought no one could stop me. I mean, I could tell you so many stories. I don't want to get into all of them, but I could tell you a basic story. I don't know.
Yeah, Ray, I'd love to hear what. Just give me one story.
It was at a nightclub, and I still had certain friends that I knew that were older friends. Most of my friends were older. I still had friends, and the funny thing is, my friends didn't know that I was homeless. It took them about a year to figure out that I was homeless, because I would still actually see them from time to time, and they didn't realize. And I remember, this is how bulletproof I thought I was at 14 years old. I went into a bar, got into an argument with somebody, ended up, I don't know, the entire bar cleared out. I'm 14 years old. I must weigh about $160 at the max. and I'm sitting on a pool table with a gang of Lebanese guys looking at me, and I'm saying, "Bring it on." And I remember someone eventually went up to one of them and said, "Look, there's got to be something going on. No kid's going to be this, whatever you want to describe it as, ballsy or cocky or whatever. So there's something going on." And they backed down. He has a 15-year-old kid sitting on a pool room table telling an entire room of gangsters that I knew at the time to bring it on. And they backed off.
Right, but listen, bro. When you wake up every morning, you're 14 years old, living in empty houses and cars or whatever. I got to ask you this, Ray. Like, what's the hope spot every day? Like, do you think either I'm gonna live my entire life this way, or I'm just gonna be dead? Like, what's the light at the end of the tunnel?
I don't think. I think I was stubborn. I think that could have been shut down much quicker than it was, but I think I was being stubborn and I held out as long as I could. I don't think I was thinking that far ahead. I didn't have any plans at the time. There was no plans. It was just get through today, get to tomorrow. I was barely eating, but funny enough, still managed to have money to do other things that I shouldn't have been doing at the time. But I was like rotten little teenager. That's it. And eventually, I remember I never ate out of the garbage can ever. I never got to the point where I needed to eat garbage or something like that. And I remember a moment where I looked at someone was eating. It was like a what do you guys call it? A barbecue stand outside of a bar, and a guy was busy eating a hamburger, and he ate one bite, and then he threw the hamburger in the trash. And I remember watching the hamburger, and I was about to get it, and that was the moment I said, "I'm going home." I'm not doing that. So.
I mean, like, that, Ray, that just fascinates me because, like, here's the thing I'm thinking of. Like, the first thing I'm thinking of is, what if I get sick? Like, you did this for 2 years. Was there any point that you got sick or you were unhealthy?
I got flu. I mean, I remember getting the flu and getting bronchitis and stuff like that. But, I mean, it just doesn't matter. You just keep moving and you just keep going. It didn't really affect me that much. And like stuff like that, because you keep on moving, I think you don't really notice it that much. You just have to keep moving, so it doesn't matter.
Now, Ray, during all this, was it during this time or a little bit after this when you went home that you really had the dream for wrestling?
I always had the dream for wrestling. From when I was 10, I fell in love with wrestling, and me and my brother did. And the way my family were trying to bait me back home at 15 years old was with the fact that my family had met some wrestlers in South Africa who, funnily enough, turned out to be Justin Gabriel's family. And that's how they were trying to bait me back. So when I went back, it was with the promise that I could start training to follow my dream. And so I went there, and I remember Gabriel's dad looking at me and saying, "You're too small, and you're this and you're that and you're the other, basically go away." And Gabriel wasn't wrestling at the time. And one of the other wrestlers said, "I'll bring you anyway." So they brought me anyway. And then I was this $160 kid getting beat up by 300-pound guys on a daily basis. And then Gabriel's dad had thought, "Hey, why not bring my son down?" And he flew his son in, and me and him were like, we were the opening act for a while.
Ray, I gotta be honest with you. Bro, I watched a couple of incidents that really touched me concerning you, and I'm gonna walk through a lot of this because, bro, we're gonna talk about wrestling, but there's so many other things I want to talk about. But there were two things that touched me. Number one, the ESPN piece, and I think it touched everybody. But number two, bro, like I saw, and we're gonna talk about this. I saw the court hearing, and it kind of split screened you and your wife, and man, I felt it. But I have to tell you, Ray, we work in a world of workers. So the fact that I don't know you, I'm like, God, bro, like I feel so much for this guy, but I'm always paranoid. I always have to think, you understand. So I always am thinking, is this guy working me? So I want you to know this. Today I had to call a very close friend of mine who knows you very well. Yes. Mr. Bill DeMott.
Oh, I love Bill.
Yeah, and I said, Bill, please tell me about Ray. Please fill me in on Ray. And he said, no, Vince, it's a shoot. This is one of the nicest guys I ever worked with. He's genuine. He's authentic. You're gonna love interviewing him. So I just wanted to pass that along to you. So I felt much more comfortable when I spoke to him.
Thank you. I spent a lot of time with Bill, and there's another person I think just got an unlucky rap there at the end.
Yeah.
Unlucky set of events, and I mean, I knew him personally, and I could tell you what, he was a hard coach, but to me, he was a fair coach, and I mean, he was hard. Don't get me wrong; there were days where I hated him, but at the end of the day, he was trying to do things to make you better, and that's what his goal was to make you better, and his goal was to get you out of there and to get you onto the main roster, and he was poking holes to see where the holes were, and I remember days when I wanted to kill him, and then he was doing it. Eventually, you realize the more you know him, you get his sense of humor, you start to understand him better, you start to understand him as a human being, and then you start to realize, oh, okay, this guy's really out for my best interests, and then it totally changes.
Yeah. Now, Ray, I do want to warn you, because you're going to be doing a lot of these interviews on your own now. You're not going to have, the WWE. You can talk to this guy, you can't talk to that guy. Now, if I was a reporter from the dirt sheets, the internet wrestling community, the headline would have just read, Adam Rose says he wanted to kill Bill DeMott. So I'm warning you, bro. I got to school you, Ray.
I do not want to kill Bill DeMott. I love Bill DeMott.
All right, Ray, we're going to walk through this. I'm going to ask you some questions. I promise other people are not going to ask you, because I'm interested in this. Okay, I know now you start working, in South Africa. You come over to NXT. They give you the character Leo Krueger, African royalty. Before we get into that, I want to talk about your wife, Cassandra, because first of all, bro, no question, beautiful looking woman. But listen, let's be honest, Ray. You're a beautiful looking man. You're a very attractive man. I told you you had, you look like a freaking rock star. But I'm reading here that only after a couple of dates, you and Cassandra got married. Is that true?
Well, firstly, the first time I ever met her, I actually she gave me a number. We exchanged. I asked for a number, and then I never called her. Because I just moved over, and I was just focusing on work, and I was like, it's the last thing I need, and I just thought it was best to not get involved in anything, so I didn't call her. Then we ended up bumping into each other again, and I was like, all right, and she slipped a number under my door at the tanning salon, and said, why didn't you call me? And I called her. We went on a date, went on 2 dates, and then I said to her, you are never leaving my side. You're going to be my wife.
Now hold on, Ray. I got to stop you right there. Okay? Bro, you're an attractive guy. I'm sure prior to Cassandra, that you experienced different women. I would say, bro, you probably had a good chance of getting any woman you ever wanted. Now, how did you know? How did you know that early on? This is the one.
I'd never met anyone like her. That's why. She was the first person to ever just totally blow me away. I'd never met anyone like her. She was this perfect combination of sweetness and a rattlesnake, and I loved it. And
that's great.
It was just she was the perfect combination of things, and she's gorgeous, to say the least.
Oh, and, gorgeous. Yeah, she's beautiful, bro.
To be honest, I fell head over heels in love with her. Head over heels.
Oh, that's great. So there was no doubt in your mind. You go in the next step. You get married. Now let's talk about this a little bit. The beautiful Cassandra, gets pregnant.
Yes.
And listening to your story now, Ray, I believe it was 17 weeks into her pregnancy. So we're looking about a little over 4 months. You find out there are serious problems with the baby.
That was that day was because you're going in. I think we went in actually just to do a basic a basic checkup or find out if it was a boy or a girl. But I think they had already known by that point something was up because they wanted us to go for specific types of ultrasounds. But I don't think they wanted to tell us yet. And Casey said to me the night before, I remember she woke me up and she said, something's wrong. And I said, no, nothing's wrong. Everything's all right, baby. And she said, no, I can feel it. Something's wrong. Something's not right. And we went in there and we were fine. And funny enough, I actually have video footage of us being okay. And then the moment we sort of realized, okay, something's wrong. And that, oh my God, there is no worse feeling than that. And you can't, they were telling us more likelihood of survival is low. If he survives all these other complications he possibly could have, probably not live beyond a year. You know, the doctors are trained to tell you the worst case scenarios and work their way down from there, I think. But one of the worst days of my life, probably that.
Now, Ray, let me ask you, and this is a very personal question, okay? But I'm curious about this, you know, from a personal standpoint. As a dad, this is why I'm having this conversation with you, because thank God I have 3, you know, healthy children. I can't imagine. But Ray, she's about 4 months pregnant. Are they telling you to consider her ending the pregnancy? Or
yes.
Is God, like, so?
Right out the bat, they said abort.
So what is the conversation between you and Cassandra at that point? Like, when a doctor is telling you that, Ray, how do you have any hope?
Well, you don't. That's the thing. It's like I said, and I only figured this out after having a sick child and going through this all, that doctors always work from the worst case scenario down. And they'll tell you the worst thing first, I think. That was my experience anyway. And we were basically being told, abort, that even if the child makes it, that most parents abort because it's too tough. And the journey ahead is going to be a roller coaster. And it was. The only word to describe it is roller coaster. It was a complete roller coaster. We had good days. We had bad days. He's good. No, he's not. He's good. No, he's not. He's out of hospital. He's back in hospital. And it was just... I think it was 5 to 6 months in the NICU. When he got out of the NICU, finally, almost died 3 times in the NICU. When he finally got home, we were in and out of the hospital 280 days out of the first year.
Jeez.
So, that means go home, something goes wrong, go to the hospital. Go home, something goes wrong, go to the hospital. 280 times out of the first year that he came home.
That is unbelievable. So meanwhile, you know, Ray, in the back of your mind, while she's pregnant though, and she's going through this, and we know that there are major medical issues with the baby. God, poor. I mean, I know you're the dad, but Cassandra is the one, you know, living with the baby and going to be delivering the baby. I mean, my God, bro, she has to be worried to death that the baby could be born stillborn.
We were told don't expect to scream. We were told when the baby's born, don't expect much. And he came out screaming his lungs out. So.
Oh God!
But the valocele was pretty huge, which is the disorder he had, which is no abdominal cavity, liver and intestines on the outside of the body, and they have to do what's called a silo and all sorts of different things to get it back into the body. And there were some complications along the way, and they never told us, but we almost lost him 3 times.
Jeez.
While that whole process was going on. His surgeon, Dr. Charles Peters, who is unreal, did an amazing job. But I mean, it's still today. He's 4 years old, and he's still we're still dealing with certain issues, but none of them life-threatening. But he also had dextrocardia, which is a mirror image heart flipped around on the other side of your body. But luckily for us, his heart works perfectly.
Now, Ray, I know he's gone through 4 surgeries. Is that correct?
45 right now, and he's still got another probably 2 to 3 to go.
I'm just curious about this, Ray, because I know, like you said, his stomach and his intestines were outside of his body. They had to put it back in. When he goes through these various surgeries, exactly like what are they doing?
Well, the first surgery was the day he was born.
Right.
So the day he was born, an hour later, first surgery commenced. And then I think 3 days later, the next surgery commenced. And those are the two major surgeries, because that was getting everything in line, getting the stylo and getting the closure. So the first thing was to try to get as much of the intestines and liver and everything back into his abdomen. And then the second surgery was to try and make a closure. The problem is, when a child's born like that, they do not have an abdominal cavity. The stomach cavity we have, he did not have. So he has no space. So there's no space to really push all that in. So what they do is they make like a silo, and they let gravity gradually pull all the organs back in. And then what they do is they put a mesh over it. Skin is over that, and you see how he develops. And it's a shoot. I mean, it's like when they look at him now and they take a look at his abdomen and his abdominal region, there's a lot of things not in the exact same place that other people have it, but he functions perfectly. The only thing he doesn't do is eat enough, and we still have to tube feed him probably once in the morning, once in the evening, because we're trying to wean him off the tube feeding so that he will rely more on food. But food has been such a major issue just with regards to health and failure to thrive and just size. And he's like 2 years older than his brother, and his brother's a tank, so they're like around the same size already. So
Ray, he has the ability then to eat on his own, where he doesn't need the feeding tube.
He does. He has the full ability to eat. He can eat anything he wants. The problem is he has what's called they call it what is it? It's a verbal aversion. It's something to do with your mouth, basically, because when he was younger, there's a direct relation between eating and learning to speak. When you eat as a baby and you put things in your mouth, you use your tongue, you use the muscles around your mouth, you use all this, and that's how you learn to utilize your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Because he never had to do that for almost a year, all those reflexes in the mouth area were behind.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And, that's why speech. We never heard a word. We'd hear a word, we wouldn't hear it again. Eventually, we had to get, actually, we got a wonderful lady. She came in, and she actually got him talking a month.
Wow.
So, yeah, but he needed specific, direct help to get there. And even now, speech is a little behind, and feeding's definitely behind. But we just need to, it's small steps. It's like, it's going to take time. And from what I'm reading and speaking to other mothers that have gone through similar things and had similar types of babies, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old when they really start coming around.
Yeah. Now I'm going to ask you this, the last question on it, only because I'm interested. Then we'll move on. But now your second son, Levi, was there any danger that this was genetic, or that this could possibly happen when Cassandra got present for the second time, or was this case such a 1 in a million that you knew the second child would be okay?
It's actually a 1 in 10,000.
1 in 10,000, yeah.
1 in 10,000. But there was a big concern that we were going to have another sick child, but because of the fact that there was no chromosome disorder and there was no sort of genetic disorder, they said the likelihood was low that we would have it again. We'd had our 1 in 10,000, and the likelihood of having it again would be 1 in what, I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
But they said it wasn't a chromosome disorder and it wasn't a genetic disorder, so unlikely. It was just a stage in development around day 10 of developing, just didn't happen for whatever reason.
Okay, let's move on a little bit to the wrestling, because I know about 2010 you join NXT. You become the character Leo Krueger, who's a heel. You're a heel, an African loyalty. Now, listen, as somebody watching this ESPN special, I was on the other side of that. So when I'm watching them talk about your character creatively, there's a couple of things. That creative meeting was very interesting to me, Ray, and there's a couple of things I want to talk about that really struck me. First of all, Triple H is leading the meeting, and I'm going to tell you this right off the bat, Ray, to be honest with you. When I was a writer, I never got involved in what you guys did in the ring, because I wasn't a wrestler. So, like, I let the agents deal with the wrestling. I was never going to tell a wrestler what to do. And Vince Russo, I concentrated on the writing, the characters, the storylines, because I was a writer. So, first and foremost, I have to be honest, I take great offense when wrestlers think they can be writers, because to me, it's two totally different things. And I've yet to meet the person that is gifted enough that was a great wrestler and a great writer. And I worked with a lot of wrestlers turned writers.
Yes, sir.
So when I see Triple H sitting at the head of that table, and basically now he starts saying, Ray's a hell of a guy, he's a nice guy, he's not feeling the heel character. He can't be a heel. Okay, let's let him go out there and be a babyface now. The thing that I'm sitting there and I'm saying to myself is, it took you 4 years to figure that out? I mean, it just seems like a lot of... bro, 4 years is a long time to finally say, you know what? This character probably doesn't fit this guy's personality. That's not why it's getting over. With all due respect, Ray, I would probably know that in 3 months.
Yeah.
What? Like, I'm just not a knock against WWE or anything like that, but I'm just curious, why did it take them 4 years to realize this might not be the right gimmick for the guy?
I don't think I was really being looked at for a long time, so I don't think it was really noticed for a long time. I think I don't think it was the main project, so I don't think it got put under the microscope that much. And I think, especially in developmental, there's a lot of people not at that point. I felt that they look at certain people, but they're not necessarily under the microscope just yet. And it's when you start getting under the microscope that they start to pick apart certain things, and they'll try to figure stuff out. But I mean, I think the pompous, arrogant heel, I think I could do all right. I think the problem was I was trying to be, if Leo Krueger was 6'6" and 310 pounds, he would have been unbelievable, but I'm not. And I felt that was always the main hindrance. I felt the Leo Krueger character, when it started to become the hunter and that type of stuff, I felt needed to be 6'6" and 310 pounds, and I just wasn't. And I just feel that was a disconnect. I think as a pompous, obnoxious, foreign heel, that I could pull off, but I don't think down the line, because by the point that Hunter was talking there, he's talking Leo Krueger the Hunter, and it wasn't Leo Krueger like African royalty, so it was different. And I think that it wasn't. I needed to be that size to really be that character. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, basically, what you're saying is, and I tell this to a lot of kids that I talk to that want to be wrestlers. What you're saying is, because you weren't that size, you had a hard time believing the character, and if you don't believe the character, you're never going to get the people to believe the character.
Exactly. Not just that, it's not believable.
Yeah.
It's not believable. 6'1", 200.
Yeah, but I just feel, man, that 4 years is just, to me, like, seriously. But anyway.
Hang on, let me say something. I don't feel like my years in FCW were wasted. I don't. I feel like when we did FCW and we were doing more the African royalty line of things, I think that was where we should have stayed. I don't think we should have ever gone towards the hunter. I think we should have stayed with the pompous, arrogant South African heel. I think there was more to go with there, and it was closer to what I could naturally pull off. Whereas trying to turn me into some sort of monster that's sort of creepy and sort of this and sort of that, I think that was where the stretch came in, and I think that was where the problem came in. And I think by that point, so much had happened, and now I was the hunter, and I just think there was also certain things going on TV at the time that it maybe would have conflicted with, and I think just wasn't working.
Let me ask you this. This was the second point of this conference, this behind closed door evaluation they were having, that I was so glad was on TV. I got to be honest with you, because, again, this is what I talk to about young guys all the time, Ray, and I'm glad people got to see it. okay?
Yep.
And I want to get your feeling on this. And again, bro, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. This isn't a personal knock on anybody or anything like that, but this is a part of the process, and this is something I dealt with for 25 years, okay?
Yeah.
Now, Vince Russo is a writer. I see a guy like Adam Rose. I see the movie star looks. I see the body. I see a sense of charisma. The one thing that comes to mind with me that I always look for, Ray, is the it factor. In my opinion, you either have it or you don't have it. You can't learn it. And when somebody has it, then you got to fill in the blanks. But I look at you, and I see the it factor, okay? Now, all of a sudden, they go to Michael Hayes. And I got to tell you something. You're going to get a kick out of this, Ray. You're going to appreciate this. Ray, probably 20 years ago, I was in Vince McMahon's house, and I was sitting at the table. It was myself, Vince, and Jim Cornette. And Triple H was just about starting to come in his own. I'll never forget this as long as I live. Jim Cornette sat there and said to Vince McMahon in front of me, Triple H will never earn a dime in this business.
Yep.
Okay? So when I saw Michael Hayes, like, it was very, very reminiscent, where he said flat out, Adam Rose, Ray will never draw a dime in this business. He'll never get over. Now, here's the danger of this, Ray.
Yeah.
One guy's opinion like that, and if that guy is vocal, it can be the end of your career. I saw that happen dozens and dozens and dozens of times. So when you as a talent, when you see that back and you realize, God, all the years and the hard work I put in and coming to this school every day and training and putting my family on the back burner and this sacrifice and that sacrifice, and then one guy saying one thing can squash it all. Bro, how does that make you feel as a talent?
That is how unreal this whole industry is. It just takes one thing, one word, one statement, one comment, one person, and everything's done in a heartbeat. And I will say this: Michael came to me face to face and said the same thing. So, and I said to him, "You're wrong," but we spoke face to face. And I think, to Michael's credit, I think my Leo Krueger, the hunter at 6'1", 210 pounds, was not believable and wasn't going to draw a dime. And I think that's what Michael was seeing. And I don't think that he knew I had the range I had, and that I don't think that he knew that it was just one package. You know, it's not what I do. And it's like, I just wish that I was happy to see that. And as I said, he actually came to me face to face and told me he said that. So I wasn't surprised when that came out. But
see, but that's the thing, Ray, you got to understand, and this is why I'm bringing this up. This has nothing to do with Michael Hayes. It has nothing to do with Michael Hayes at all, because, bro, I could put 100 other people in that spot, including Vince McMahon. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why, Ray. A lot of times when Jim Cornette was no longer part of the booking committee, it was me and Vince for a very long time, just the two of us. And Ray, when we would sit there and talk about creative, Vince would make it clear to me who was never going to make it. But he would never let that person know. So what would happen would be we would not be doing something with a Ray Lapone, say, for instance, and Ray Lapone is not going to go to Vince. They're going to come to Vince Russo, the writer. And because, Ray, now I understood this. Listen, this is this guy's livelihood. This is how he makes money. He's probably got a family to take care of. So, Ray, I would tell these guys, listen, I'm going to be totally honest with you. Vince thinks A, B, C, and D about you, and this is what you need to do. And, Ray, I used to get heat from that with the guys. When the wrestlers, when they hear something they don't want to hear, there's heat. They didn't understand I was trying to help them. So I think the fact of the matter is Michael Hayes probably told you that because he knew you were going to see it on TV. Otherwise, you may have never even gotten that information.
Well, like I said, he told me that face to face after that meeting actually happened, and I think he knew I needed a drastic overhaul. He wasn't sure what it was, but to get anyone's attention, he knew we needed to do something. And it was Johnny Laurinaitis. I always get terrible with that name. Was used to say I did call Johnny. So anyway, he was the one that said to me, why would you try and do what you're doing? He said, you're a good-looking kid, and you got this and that, and these are the things you have to offer, yet you're doing everything from Leo Krueger to not utilize the things that you have. So he didn't understand that. And I'll be honest, Johnny gave me some of the best advice I've ever received in business. And then another thing that people don't know is that I knew exactly what spot I was being brought up into. I was never going to face John Cena. I knew that. You know, I was going to be a fun little act. That's it.
But how does that sit with you as a talent, Ray? Because you're not. Are you getting in? I can't believe you're getting in the business to be a fun little act. I believe you're getting in the business because you want to be the best you could be, and you want to be in there with John Cena. And me personally, I think every guy should have that opportunity. There should be no limitations. Am I right?
I knew my limitations before I went there. That's the thing. I was well aware of where I had been placed and what my limitations were. And after so many years in developmental, you don't care anymore. You just want to get out of developmental, and you want to get there so you can prove whoever is saying that wrong. And that's pretty much how you view it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I was brought in to be a mid-card act. I knew that.
Yeah.
I was brought in to be, Adam Rose was brought in to be fun, to start a show. That's honestly what it was supposed to be. But the problem was, for some reason, if you're not a challenge to Cena, you ain't worth anything to us. And that's not true necessarily. There are certain characters who are never going to be challenging for the main championships, yet drew money in the past. They drew money because they had their spots. They had their place on the card, and they had the demographic that they performed for, and they did their job specifically. And then what Adam Rose was in NXT and what Adam Rose was on the WWE were two completely different things.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that because I saw you said that in an interview, but you didn't get into it specifically. And first of all, before we get to that question, Ray, so how is Adam Rose born? And from the drawing board, what is Adam Rose supposed to be?
Well, initially, Adam Rose, I'm going to tell you straight out, Adam Rose was done in a promo class, and it was done to show range. That's all I wanted to do, because I showed them Leo Krueger for so long. I wanted to show them something completely different that they had never seen before and didn't even know that I could do. And he was based loosely on Get Him to the Greek, Aldous Snow, Elton John, certain characters. We took little bits from them and we created Adam Rose. And Adam Rose in NXT was cool. Adam Rose in NXT was edgy. You know, it was a real party. It was different. And then when Adam Rose, unfortunately, somewhere along the line between translation from NXT to the WWE, became Sesame Street.
I'm going to say, in my opinion, I'm not going to put words in the great Ray Lapon, but the transition and the Sesame Street, I think that's the Vince McMahon influence. I'll be honest with you, because listen,
I don't know who's what, but I know that's.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm saying that, Ray, because Ray, listen, let's face it, bro. There's a lot of hot acts in NXT, and when they make the transition over, it's not the same. And you're not the only case. I could probably name 6 to 8 off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. You become someone's interpretation of the character instead of what the character actually is. And I remember doing a certain commercial. I'm not going to get into it, but I remember at the end of the commercial, you can see it on my face on television. I realized, OMG, what just happened to Adam Rose? I was like, this is not good.
Ray, let me ask you this.
Something's gone wrong.
Ray, let me ask you this, because this is something a lot of talent faces. I think a lot of talent go through that same exact moment. When you say to myself, oh my God, I see where this is going, this is all wrong, and you knowing you know this is not going to work. Now, I have mixed emotions here, Ray, and I'll tell you why. I dealt with many talents that would be considered mid-card that basically, came up to me and said, Vince, I can do better. I deserve a better opportunity. I can give this company more. Just give me a chance, give me a chance, give me a chance. And they hounded me until they got that chance. So, bro, a couple people really well that will like that. Road Dogg was that way. He was not satisfied with his role. He wanted more, wanted more, wanted more. Steve Austin was that way. But now, Ray, I'm hearing so many stories of sometimes guys feel creatively they're not in the right role. If they weren't scripted so tightly, they could give more, they would be more over. But then I'm hearing, bro, they don't speak up because they're afraid of the ramifications. We're going to lose our spot. We're going to piss somebody off. And there's no place else to go. I understand that. So, Ray, when you were in that spot where you saw the writing on the wall, how did you deal with that?
I went straight to Hunter and said, what happened? How did we become Sesame Street? And he said he'll take a look at it. And Hunter's got a lot of projects he's working on. So I don't, and he did work with me very closely. And he gave me some of the best advice I've ever received. And, like just general day-to-day advice. But he's also dealing with so many different people that I understand I couldn't get his time exclusively a lot. But at the end of the day, the ship was sinking. I was aware of it, and it wasn't going the path I wanted it to go. And I could not have pushed more and fought more. And that's one thing I rest easy about, is that I know I couldn't have spoken out more.
Yeah. You can look in the mirror and know you did everything in your power that you felt you could do.
I did. And then eventually, after hounding and hounding and hounding and hounding, you eventually realize, okay, something's not going to change. So what is the point of doing that anymore? So, and that's when you step back and you say, all right, because I think the WWE knows right from the beginning where they're placing certain people. I think they know what they're doing with the character. They know where they're going with the character. On my debut alone, the specific agent that was given it first didn't know what to do with it. It was handed to somebody else. He did it. Then it didn't look anything like it looked on NXT because the production was completely different. And from the get-go, I could tell, okay, I'm not main project around here. I get that. I understand that. I'm not the main dude around here. But I think I could at least have been an IC champion, at least. And I think given the right time, I think I could at least have done that. I mean, it's a matter of once I got boxed into Sesame Street, then it was a bunch of different turns. Then we couldn't decide where we were going with it. And then one thing I rest easy about is I was the guy that pitched you every day. I was the guy that spoke to you every day. And I was the guy that wasn't afraid to speak to Hunter or Vince or anybody and say, hey, where are we going with this? Or what does this mean? Or that. And it's just, I just think there were certain spots and then there aren't certain spots. That's just what it is.
Ray, let me ask you this, bro, because you were there obviously a much different time than I was there. And basically what I'm going to ask you, Ray, is just your opinion. You know, we all have opinions, so it's just your opinion. But Ray, let me tell you, I hate to bring up the Attitude Era, but the Attitude Era was successful for a reason, and I'll tell you why. Jim Ross was head of talent relations. Jim Ross would put together the roster. Now, the way I looked at it, Ray, he just handed me a roster of the best wrestlers in the world. You know, almost like, you know, whether it was a baseball team or a basketball team, these are the guys that deserve to be here. Here's the roster, Vince. Now go do your work. When I got that roster, and later on me and Ed Ferrara got that roster, here was our mentality, Ray. This is the God honest truth. Our job was to get every single person on that roster over. Yep. The more people over on the roster, the more money the company makes as a whole. And Ray, even going way back then, Ray, you're exactly right. All Vince cared about were the top guys. It was always, what's Austin doing? What's Rock doing? What's Taker doing? Everybody else down the card, he did not care about. But Ed and I, as the writers, nobody was pigeonholed like, okay, Adam Rose is only going to go this far, and this guy's is going to be the mid-carder. This guy's going to be the curtain jerker. Our goal was to give everybody an opportunity, and they were going to dictate their fate. If they started getting over, Ray, we'd give them a little more and a little more and a little more. Nobody was pigeonholed in a spot. So my question to you, just your opinion as a wrestler, why do you think there is a predetermination of, okay, Adam Rose is only going to go this high, regardless of where he goes, this is going to be his spot? Is that more a professional decision, or is that a personal decision?
I think that is, it's hard to say. I mean, I think there's a lot of people involved in whoever's making that decision of how far a guy's career is going to go. And I do believe you can change where your career is going to go. I just believe it's becoming fewer and fewer people that can do it. At the end of the day, my character was boxed, and I was supposed to be the fun little act in the beginning or do the fun later on. And I think the character would be much better introduced as a heel. I think the characters, I remember Dusty Rhodes being furious at my debut, and because he felt that, I gave you gold, and that's what you do with his debut. And Dusty wanted, had such a specific vision for what he saw the Adam Rose character being, and then that sort of game. You cannot have a hot dog suit coming out and the lights on, because now you just see a 35-year-old man in a hot dog suit. That's not cool, and that's not going to get over. So the pigeonholing now, I think, is how it works. And I think that's just how the system is now. I don't know, but like you said, it wasn't always that way. Talent could work around that or break through that. Now I think the pigeonhole's real tight. And I think it is what it is. And I think at the end of the day, they need you can't have everyone be special.
Why? Why? If I'm the owner of a baseball team, right, I want all 9 guys on my field to be all-stars, like every single one of them. So me personally, this is me talking, not you. I don't understand why you can't make everybody special. I
think that's the mentality. I don't know if, and I mean, I'm speaking totally from my perspective. I don't know what the actual mentality is. I don't know. What I do know is my experience of it. And I do know that my experience of it is that once you're in a certain box, that's your box.
That's your box.
And then you try to make the best of your box. And then if you can get out of that box, good for you, but very few people ever do. And I think I don't think everyone agrees on whose boxes are on who, but I think once those boxes are put in place, it's very hard to nowadays get out of them.
I got you. Hey, Ray, I'm going to ask you this question because it happened to me. It happened to me. Obviously, I took a much different path than you because, bro, I would have existed on the streets for 6 hours before I went home crying to my mother. So right there and then, you and I are completely separate, all right? But listen, Ray, I grew up watching wrestling in 1970. And I fell in love with it, and I watched all the years, and I got in the business, and, I loved what I was doing. But Ray, the more things like this I experience from a writer's point of view,
Yeah.
I'm just being honest with you. It started taking the naive love of the business I had away from me. And all of a sudden, you know, the love of the business is being taken away from me. All of a sudden now this becomes a job to me. And that turns into, okay, how much longer can I do this? That's really what happened to me.
It's true.
Yeah, that's what I want to. I want to hear your perspective. Going through all this, was it taking away from what you got into the business for in the first place?
Most definitely. I think I would look at pictures of from WrestleMania 3, and I'd watch stuff like that, and then feel inspired again, and then go do my job and not feel inspired, and that would be weird. Why am I not inspired? But I loved WrestleMania 3. I don't understand why I don't feel that. I felt like a lot of people. I felt underutilized, and I felt this, and I felt. Yeah, I mean, who's to say what the reason is? At the end of the day, there's plenty of people that feel underutilized. There's a roster of talent that's bursting with talent, and it's just what it is. It's the nature of the beast, and maybe I just wasn't talented enough to get someone's attention. I mean, who knows? You know, I was probably given balls and dropped them at certain points. I didn't realize I dropped them. You know, and it's you don't know. You just don't.
I know.
And I think that's the biggest thing is I don't know. It could have been something so small, and I would never know what it was. I do know that I was brought in to be in a certain spot. I was told that to my face, and I was happy to do it because I was getting out of developmental and getting my chance, and that's all I cared about.
Yeah, I once saw a wrestler literally go to the absolute bottom of the barrel. I saw this with my own two eyes because he was having a conversation with somebody that could make or break him, and the wrestler didn't look this individual in the eye because he was nervous.
That's the thing too. Yeah, you never know,
and he never knew. He never knew. But meanwhile, he didn't look him in the eye because he was nervous. The guy took it as a sign of disrespect. I don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. Bro, the guy's career is over. That's it.
And it's that quick. It's
unbelievable.
It's boom, gone.
Okay,
that's the nature of the business.
That is the nature of the business. Bro, I swear to God, I just talked to about 50 kids at a wrestling school. And, the trainer says, okay, how many people's ambition is to go to the WWE? And everybody raised their hand. And I got to be honest with you, Ray, I just sat there and I said to myself, why? Why? Because there are so many things out of your control as a talent. And the worst thing is what you just said, Ray, 99% of the time, you don't even know.
You don't know, and it's already done, and it's happened, and it's over with, and you don't know.
That's it.
I'll be honest with you. I was surprised I lasted as long as I did. So, I saw the writing on the wall way earlier.
Yeah.
So I think I was surprised I lasted as long as I did. I'm a hard worker, and I think that's something that always appealed to them. And I'm the type of person who will always, always, always try his best, and will always give you his best, and will. I have limits. I'm not 6'6". I'm not 350. I'm not the greatest aerial acrobat in the world. I have certain limitations, but I view myself as an artist. I can bring what the best of me is, and I can guarantee you that I can bring the best of me when allowed every time. And the unfortunate thing is I don't think people have seen the best of me. I don't think people have seen the tip of what I can actually offer. So, and that's frustrating to me because I've had my favorite match was some weird live event match with Justin Gabriel, where he knew he was on his way out, and he said to me, "I've probably got a couple more matches left." He said, "So we're gonna do what we want." And I said to him, "Okay, it's on you. Let's do this." And we went out there and we tore the house down. And the place, these were two guys no one cared about. They didn't care about me. I wasn't really on TV that much, and Justin hadn't been on TV forever. And we tore the house down. That place was rumbling, and no one will ever see that match, and no one will ever know about that match. And it's just because we were in full gear. We're allowed to go to full gear, and it's I think a lot of guys are just never allowed to pull into fifth.
Yeah. Well, the good news is you can write your own ticket now. That's the good news. Yeah. So, Let's get down to this because I got some questions. And again, I'm asking you out of curiosity. I'm asking you, Ray, because bro, ADHD, I have this to an awful level. Ray, here's my problem though. I'm going to tell you the difference between you and I. Ray, I saw so many guys in the business, I don't need to tell you this, get hooked and addicted to prescription medication. I have every aspect of ADHD you can imagine, but I won't take medication because I'm scared to death because of what I've seen. So now, you were diagnosed with ADHD. You were put on medication, a prescribed medication. All of a sudden now you fail a wellness test. And, from what that failure came from the prescription medication from your ADHD that the WWE knew about. Is that correct?
Yeah, the problem I had with that was the WWE knew that I was taking Adderall for ADHD. We had tried other things. My doctor had tried different medications. And the reason he did is he didn't want, because I had certain side effects, he didn't want certain side effects. So we tried different medications. For me, as someone who has a very hard time concentrating and has a very hard time, I've never read a book in my life. And when the moment I took medication, I could finally read and I could concentrate and I could focus. And I think for a normal person, it makes them a certain way. But for a person that's got ADHD, it makes you almost just more focused and calmer and able to function. And so for me, it was a miracle. And it was like, I was like, why have I not taken this my entire life? My life would have been so different. I would have finished school. I would have studied. I would have done all this stuff. And unfortunately, my mom, because I spoke to her about it recently, she said the only thing in South Africa was Ritalin. And she was scared of putting me on it. And just out of fear of the side effects. So, but as a grown adult now, I could go and make the decision myself. And we tried different things. And they had side effects that I didn't like, and with regards to affecting my moods in different ways, which I didn't like. Whereas the one I was taking didn't have those side effects. That's why I would eventually stayed with that one. This was working for me as a person, but I was taking it because I couldn't focus, and I was taking it because it helped me have clarity. It helped me focus. It helped me read a book. It helped me just focus even on my family. It just helped me not be so all over the place. And for me, that was a huge thing. I could understand though someone abusing that, but I was being regulated, and I had a doctor who was looking after me, and I was doing as he asked. There was nothing out of line.
So now they tell you failed the wellness policy test. I'm sure they have to tell you what they tell you what they found, and at that point you say, no, wait a minute.
I lost my mind. The moment they said what it was for, I was like, no way. I said, I must have been popping for that for a year then. So I'm like, what do you? How is it now that I'm popping and it's illegal, and I'm not allowed to take it? And then they said something about protocols that I didn't follow, and at the end of the day, I remember we had a conversation. I don't want to get too much detail.
No, I don't want you to either. Yeah.
About it, and that conversation ended basically me talking to the doctor, not my doctor, their doctor, and the doctor saying, okay, it's working for you. That's fine. I never knew about all these other protocols. There's other protocols. You're not allowed to take this for that and this for that and this for that. And then I understand. I don't do any sort of recreational drugs, so it wasn't really a problem. So I never worried about it. But the protocols, it felt to me like, okay, now we're there's something else at play. Maybe that's what it felt like to me. I don't know.
Okay, so now talk to me. Listen, here's the thing. To me, I'm going to give you my assessment. Ray, because I was there. I was there. Like I was to a point, not so much at WWE, but at TNA. I was at a point, I was like screaming at the top of my lungs, like, get me out of here. Like I was looking for any little thing to be the last thing. So being that I experienced this, I'm reading between the lines, and I'm almost thinking that you going public with this is kind of your way of saying, I want this thing to end? Because let's face it, Ray, once you go public with it, you pretty much know what they're going to do, right?
I knew the implications of it. I knew. And I knew, and there's more to it even than that I haven't even gone public with. I'm not even going to bother with. But it's like, at the end of the day, it's I knew exactly what I was doing, and I think I was ready to go, and I think they were ready to go. I mean, I felt like I just felt like you're not doing any good business with me. I'm not doing any good business with you right now. So let's just go our separate ways. It's better. I'm unhappy. You're unhappy with me. So why keep it? It's like being in a toxic relationship, so to speak. And it basically had become toxic. Even what I was doing at the end there was social outcast. We could have done so much more than that was doing. And I think the frustration was driving me nuts. Plus, on top of that, it wasn't worth being away from home anymore. And that was the main thing. I just don't want to be away from my home anymore. I don't travel that much anymore. And I was tired of not being at home. I was tired of not seeing my kids. I was tired of watching my kids grow up every other weekend. And I was tired of my poor wife having to do everything for herself. She had very little support structures, and she was doing everything, literally everything by herself. And I was like, I watched this woman, this beautiful woman that I fell head over heels in love with, crumble from no support and just everything being on her back. And I knew my first job is to look after my wife and my kids. And that comes before wrestling.
Yeah.
And if you're not appreciating me, then that job is definitely going to come before you.
Yeah. Ray, I want to, and let me tell you, there's a motive behind my madness, and I'll tell you why. This is Vince Russo speaking now, not Ray. I want to bring up the situation with your wife and the legal situation, for a very poignant reason. Ray, I was so, listen, I'm reading about it online like everybody else. And bro, listen, I read in your bio, Ray, you are a Christian man. And so am I a Christian man. And the one thing, bro, that I get really troubled with is when we start judging other people. There is one person to judge us, and he has the right to judge us because he created us. So he has the right to say, listen, you effed up. You're doing a great job. You, not so much. So when we as human beings start judging other people, it starts driving me crazy. Yeah. Then, bro, they're dragging you through the mud. Yeah.
And I think they loved it. I think they wanted to do it. And that's fine.
Ray, I got to tell you something. I had somebody on my staff, without me knowing about it, tweet out a picture of you with a very unkind subhead. Okay? And I immediately call that person and I put him on suspension. And I said, first of all, you do not know this man. Second of all, you have no idea of the circumstances. Who are you? It really pissed me off. But somebody from my own freaking camp did it without me knowing about it. And okay, so Ray, now I see. I'm feeling for you as a Christian brother. I mean, I really am. So that's why I kind of reached out through Twitter, even though now I was going to be lumped in with you and I was going to, be attacked, but I don't care. But now I see the footage of when you're in court. It was split screen with you and Cassandra. And listen, Ray, we've heard a million times the Nicole Brown tapes where the woman was scared for her life. She was physically scarred and beaten. We saw it a million times. Yeah. Here was Cassandra basically pleading, begging, and saying this was like so blown out of proportion. Listen, this is all he did. And here's you in the freaking orange jumpsuit, looking down, and I'm like, holy. And here's what I'm understanding too. I'm understanding the frustrations of the business, This just happened to you about the wellness policy. Now you're home. Now you don't know what your future holds. There's so many emotions going through your body. To hear Cassandra lay out what actually happened, it's understandable, but it's like, my God, Ray, it's like you're right, and I hate to tell you you're right, but the damage this does to you and her and the family, and now you've got to deal with it. I don't know what else to say, but other than, man, I really feel for you and her and your entire family.
We're getting through it, and like you said, the damage is done. They did the damage, and I think things were taken out of context. I don't think the full story was taken into account that night. And I think for whatever reason they wanted to do that, and even when when it was happening, Casey was like, "Oh my goodness, what is going on here? How is this happening? This should not be happening." And then they tried to take. She's got no bruising, no. She said to them, "Don't." They take photos. She's like, "Okay, take photos, but there's no bruising or marking or anything." He literally just cupped my face with his hands. I mean, like holding my hands, like my head and like this, like holding my cheeks, you know.
Yeah.
Literally just cupped her head in my hands and was saying to her, "Listen to me. We got to talk about this." And the stress levels were high, and I mean, she's had a lot of stuff to deal with, and it's just it was if anything, it's a communication problem that we're learning to communicate. And I'm now attending counselors to teach me as a man how to communicate with my wife, because I don't know how to talk properly with my wife, and I never learned how to communicate with female species right, and how to understand them the right way. It's like, it's such a big deal. It's like I want to fix things. I think as men, we're natural fixers. If you give me a problem, I'm trying to fix it for you, you know. And women just want to air grievances and talk, and they don't necessarily want you to fix things. And it's like communication meltdown, but it was not that, and it should not have ended up where it did.
Yeah, well, you know, Ray, I say this all the time to people, and this is why, like, you know, bro, listen, with me, if somebody's an a-hole, if somebody's a dick, I always sit back and I say, okay, there's a reason why they're that way, because we're in nature of our environment. So, you know, you got to go back, you know, what were we taught, you know, as kids, and how were we raised? So, like, when you say that, I understand all that completely. But Ray, you said something very interesting. And again, I just want to get your opinion on this, because I don't understand this. Okay. And this is an issue like I have with the WWE, and I think they need to change this. This is why I'm bringing this up. Now, you yourself said, I'm going to counseling now. I've got to learn to deal with women better. I got to learn how to, you know, deal with my wife and communicate. But here's what I don't understand. In the WWE, somebody fails a wellness policy, or somebody has a drug addict, a drug problem, or a prescription medication problem, or an alcohol problem. Okay, you may be suspended, whatever, but we're going to send you to rehab. We're going to get you help. But then on the other side of the coin, I see a situation like Hogan, you know, with the racial rant, where, you know, it came out of anger. I see the situation with you, where what happened with your wife. Now, here's what I don't understand. In that case in point, I don't understand why the WWE doesn't handle it the same way as an abuse problem. Okay, you know what? If Ray needs to go to counseling, if Ray needs to, you know, we're going to send him there. If Hogan needs to go to anger management, we're going to stand behind them as human beings.
Management. I think it's a good. I understand the WWE policy on domestic violence, and I fully support it. I don't think it should be tolerated at all. I don't think domestic violence should be tolerated at any level at all, and I fully support the WWE policy on that. What happened tonight, I think on that night, they should maybe have found out first before making decisions. And but I understand the way they have to handle that. I get that. I understand it fully. As a company, I'd probably do the same thing. I do think, though, I, as a human being, just as a human being, and on my own communication skills, and this is man to man, man to woman, man to anybody. The counseling that I do through my church is helping me as a human being figure out who I am and what motivates me to be the person I am. Because we all have, there's reasons we are the people we are. And it's getting to those underlying reasons to figure out why we do certain things. And then you can finally figure out how to be a better person. But you need to get to what's underneath first. And I'd never dealt with a lot of stuff. And now I'm able to figure out, I got the time to figure out who I am, who Ray LeBon is, and figure out why my communications are so bad. It's not like I communicate badly. I don't get my point across. I'm especially with my wife, I'm not a good listener. I want to fix your problem, but I don't want to hear what it is.
Isn't that all husbands though? Let's be serious. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that is. But this is the point though. As men, we need to make that better. As men, we need to try and figure out and understand the opposite sex better and understand what they want better. Otherwise, we're just gonna be bumping heads forever. And it's okay to not be the same, and it's okay to not agree, and it's okay to not do things the same way. But I think every human being on earth needs to go through a point on who they are and why they are the person they are. And if they're in the right place for where they should be, is everything aligned right for them? Are they happy? I wasn't happy. Yeah. So why do it? If I'm not happy, why do it? I'm like, it's just a job then at that point. So, and I didn't get in it for just a job. I never did. I didn't get in it. I got in because I had a passion, and I wanted to be a part of that passion. And I feel, funnily enough, now creatively, I feel like more passionate about it than I've ever felt about it, because I feel like I have control over certain things I've had before, which I love.
Yeah.
And
that's the worst feeling in the world, Ray, isn't it? And bro, this isn't a WWE thing. This is the, the guy could be a mailman. He could be a fireman. It doesn't matter. This is so, when you work so hard at something, Ray, and I'm doing it the best I can and I'm being the best I can be, but also the reality of it is, like you said, there's only so much I can control.
No, everything's out of, there's three things I control. Am I in shape? Can I wrestle? Can I cut a promo? Everything else is up to the stars.
Yeah. Well, now I see though, Ray, I've been reading, obviously, coming from South America, you haven't really been able to examine and dive into the indie scene. Now you're going to have, that opportunity, and you can go out there and be whoever you want to be.
That's the point. I get to now do creatively what I want to do, and I get to creatively be who I want to be. And it's like, that to me is what's exciting about it. Sure, I'm not a WWE superstar anymore, and I thank the WWE for my time there, and I thank them for the opportunity. They didn't have to. They didn't have to give me that opportunity. They didn't have to give me that time. There's 1,100 guys behind me looking for that shot, but they gave me that time and they gave me that opportunity, and that's all I was ever promised. So I was given what I was promised, and so I thank them for that, and I appreciate the opportunity. And now it's my time for the next 1 or 2 years to go do what I want to do, and then it's done.
Yeah. Ray, it's so funny. I kind of did the math the other day, and I'm 55 years old now. And I'm making 5% of what I did in my wrestling heyday.
Wow.
And bro, I can't tell you how happy I am. And here's where the happiness comes from, Ray. The freedom. The freedom. You can't put a price tag on freedom. And Ray, as a Christian man, and we could tell people this till we're blue in the face. Everybody thinks money's going to make them happy. Ray, will you please tell them, Ray? Please tell them, Ray.
Money can make you miserable. I think the lack of money can make you miserable too. I've been on both ends of the spectrum. But I think I don't know, the saying, more money, more problems just comes to mind. And it's like, There's more value in freedom, and there's more value in having your kids around, and there's more value in being able to love your family than there is in a dollar bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, Ray, too, wrestlers are creative animals.
We're autistic.
We're autistic, bro. And you said it perfectly before. Bro, when you're put in a box and you can't stretch out your wings with no limitation, there's no way you can be happy. If you're creative and you're put in that environment, you cannot be happy.
It's 100% true. You're not going to be happy because your artistic expressions being squashed and destroyed, and it's that artistic side of you is dying, and that's what gets to you eventually. I think that's what makes people sad eventually, and then some people can deal with it. Some people can get a paycheck and deal with it and be happy about it and say, okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. And
then other people, unfortunately, can't hide it that well.
That's right.
They battle with it. Just what it is, and then you got to no-sell the no-sell, brother. And, some of us can't.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And,
Ray, in your mind, can you maybe give us a little peek into what we're going to see? Like, in your mind, are you playing with anything creatively that we've maybe never seen before, and we're going to say, holy crap, who is this guy?
I'm a little worried actually as to what people are going to. I don't actually care, but I'm a little worried because the difference is so big. Yet it's the same. That's what's going to freak people out. It's the exact same. I'm giving you the exact same thing, but I'm giving it to you. And what's going to freak people out? It's the same thing, but it's completely, utterly different.
Yeah.
And the point is too, it's also going to be my culture, my background, my South Africa, my way of doing it.
Yeah. Well, you know, Ray, I don't need to tell you this. You make a living in the wrestling business. You know, greatness does not come without taking chance.
No.
So
it definitely doesn't. But I'm not doing this to get back into the WWE. Right now I don't want to do that right now. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't wish that I'm myself or my worst enemy right now with my mindset, just because of everything that's gone down. I'm not doing this creatively to try and go back. I'm doing this creatively because I need to get this out.
Yes. I
need to creatively express myself this way, and then I have a year or two of it, and then I'm more than happy to go and do a 9 to 5 and look after my kids and my wife. As long as everyone's fed, clothed, and happy, I don't care about the rest.
Yeah, bro, that's a great attitude to have. Ray, now listen, if promoters are watching this, a lot of people will be listening to this on podcast one. If they want to book you, where do we go?
The best thing to do is probably at my Twitter, which is at Aegis. I think it's an underline. I don't know if it's a line. You get a dash and you get the underline. Aegis Rose, and that's Aldo Rose now. So you can go to my Twitter, and then there's an email, and that's IMALEM 3 O's, and that's imalemoon @gmail.com. And I am wide open. No, I'm not wide open. I'm actually booked, but I'm open to taking bookings and want to take bookings and want to experience as much of this as I can. Suck it up and just be a part of it. And I want to taste it. And I want smoky halls with people and giving me shots from the audience, and I just want to experience this side of it. I never got to experience the raw, filtered side of this, and that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. And also now that you're going to be spending more time at home with the lovely Cassandra and the lovely children, maybe a third one will be on the way soon. Is that a possibility?
We actually are talking about that.
There you go. All right.
We actually are talking about that. I think I feel Casey needs her princess.
There you go, bro. That's what I did. I had the 2 boys, and I'm like, we gotta go. You gotta go for the little girl. You gotta. And that's what we got.
We don't have much family. That's the thing. Like, my family's all over the place. Not really that. We thought, we are our own world. This is our own little nucleus here. So they may need more brothers and sisters to make their nucleus bigger.
Exactly. I hear you 100%.
Right.
Well, Ray, listen, man, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. I mean, I know this is the first conversation we've had and we've met. First time we've really met. And, man, I really enjoyed this conversation. I really respect you. I mean, as a professional second, but as a human being first, man. I wish you all the luck in the world, man. You got your happiness now. You got your freedom, no limitations. You can write your own book now, and I'm looking forward to see what you're going to do going forward.
I mean, I'm excited about the future. I really am. And that's for the first time in a long time. I'm excited about the future. And I'm just happy that I get to be at home more. And thank you for giving me this time. I really enjoyed the conversation. That was great. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
It's right about time again to swerve again, confuse the general fans again. Add another swerve and then put it on a pole again. Put it on a pole again. Put it on the pole again. And our square to quad, it's gonna get emotional as I wait to overbook the damn cards.